All right, today we're tackling one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
And I'm not just talking about some book in a forgotten language. No, this is something else entirely. We're talking about a book that has stumped, completely stumped, the world's best minds for over 100 years. Every single attempt to translate it has failed.
Just look at it. It's a beautiful work of art. It's filled with these impossible-looking plants, really strange astrological charts, and these interconnected pools with women bathing in them. It's bizarre. But the script, the writing itself, it's like nothing else on Earth. This, my friends, is the story of the Voynich manuscript.
Okay, let's really get into it. This incredible book is held at Yale University's Beinecke Library, and honestly, it's a total puzzle box. Think about it. It has stumped everyone. I'm talking legendary World War II codebreakers and even today's most advanced AI algorithms. Nothing can crack it.
Now, before we jump down all the rabbit holes and get lost in some pretty wild theories, and trust me, there are a lot of them, let's just ground ourselves. Let's look at what science can actually tell us about the physical object. Because even though the meaning is a total mystery, the book itself, it's very, very real.
So, we know from radiocarbon dating that the parchment itself, the vellum, was made sometime in the early 1400s. But here's where it gets weird. The timeline has these massive gaps. After it was made, it completely vanishes for nearly 200 years. Then poof, it just pops up in the hands of an alchemist in Prague. It gets passed around a bit and then disappears again for another 200 years. It's not until 1912 that a book dealer named Wilfred Voynich, that's where it gets its name, finds it. You can see how these huge empty spaces in its history make it almost impossible to trace.
And the physical evidence tells a fascinating story all on its own. The materials they used, calfskin vellum, a type of ink called iron gall ink, even the cheap pigments for the colors, it all checks out. It's all authentic to the early 1400s. So right away, we know this isn't some modern forgery. But here's what's really cool. The book is described as heavily thumbed. That means people used it a lot. They were constantly flipping through the pages. And get this, handwriting analysis suggests there might have been up to 5 different scribes working on it. This wasn't just one person's secret diary. It feels more like a community project.
Okay, so we've established that the book itself is a real, physical object from the 15th century. But now we get to the real heart of the puzzle, the text and the illustrations. And believe me, they are anything but ordinary. The script has its own name, given by researchers, Voynichese. And when you look at it, it flows. It's graceful, it moves from left to right across the page with absolutely no hesitation. It really looks like the person writing it was fluent, like they knew exactly what they wanted to say. This isn't the slow, clunky writing of someone trying to encrypt a message one letter at a time. It just looks natural.
And this is where we hit the central paradox of the whole thing. Because on one hand, Voynichese acts just like a real language. Statistically speaking, it follows patterns like Zipf's law, which is about word frequency. Different sections even have different vocabularies, just like chapters in a regular book. But, on the other hand, it breaks some really fundamental rules of language. It's way too repetitive. You'll see the same word pop up 5 times in a row. And there are no words shorter than 2 letters or longer than 10. It's like it's a language that behaves like a language, but maybe not one from around here.
So you think, okay, maybe the illustrations will give us some clues, right? Nope. They just make things even weirder. The herbal section is full of plants that botanists have never seen. Some look like they're stitched together from different species. The astronomical section has zodiac charts, but with all this bizarre stuff added. And then there's the balneological section. Who knows what's going on there? It's all these green pools and crazy-looking plumbing. The art is just as alien as the script.
So, what in the world could this thing be? Well, all the theories pretty much boil down to 2 big camps. Either the text actually means something, or it means absolutely nothing at all. All right, so in the meaningful corner, you have people who argue that the text is just too complex, too structured to be random gibberish. The patterns are too deliberate. They think it could be a really complex cipher, hiding a known language like Latin, or maybe it's the last surviving text of a language that's been completely lost to history. Or even an artificial language, like Esperanto, just created centuries before its time. But then, in the meaningless corner, they've got a killer counterargument. If it's real, why hasn't a single, solitary word been convincingly linked to any known language? That leads them to think it's just a brilliant, masterful hoax, made to trick some rich person. Or maybe it's something called glossolalia, basically speaking in tongues written down, like the author was in some kind of trance.
Just to give you a sense of how insanely difficult this thing is, listen to this.
Elizabeth Friedman. She was a legendary codebreaker, one of the best of the 20th century. She and her team of top military cryptographers spent years trying to crack the Voynich manuscript. And after all that work, their conclusion was simply doomed to utter frustration. I mean, if they couldn't do it, what hope does anyone else really have?
So that brings us to the big question, right? Why is this still a mystery? Why has it lasted for so long? I mean, think about it. We've cracked Egyptian hieroglyphs. We've deciphered all these other ancient scripts. So why not this one? What makes it so different?
And it's definitely not for a lack of trying. The history of the Voynich manuscript is basically a graveyard of failed solutions. I mean, dozens of people have claimed they've cracked it. One guy in the 1920s claimed there were microscopic codes hidden in the ink. Turned out to just be cracks. More recently, someone said it was just abbreviated Latin for women's health. Medieval scholars shot that down almost immediately. Another claimed it was a lost Proto-Romance language. His own university had to back away from the research. Every single time there's a huge media storm, and every single time the experts take it apart. Here's the bottom line. To this day, not a single proposed solution has ever been independently verified or accepted by the experts.
So, in the end, we're right back where we started. What are we looking at here? Is this some kind of lost world of knowledge? A medieval encyclopedia locked away in a code we just haven't figured out yet? Or is it the most brilliant, elaborate, 600-year-old practical joke ever pulled? The most beautiful and complex piece of nonsense ever created? The honest truth is, we just don't know. The mystery endures.